not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered.
Times Events reel, able to say this. That's the narrative. It was written. This is the perfect screenplay.
Charlie Kirk's mother is no longer staying quiet, and what she's reportedly been saying behind the scenes is shaking this entire situation hard. After Erika got called out publicly for allegedly changing parts of the story about Charlie's final days, a totally different version of events is now making rounds online, and people are saying the evidence behind it carries serious weight. What started as low-key whispers in private conversations has exploded into loud accusations and detailed contradictions that many people say are impossible to brush off anymore. The timeline Erika shared publicly is now being examined piece by piece, with critics pointing out every gap and inconsistency. She already faced backlash for constantly stressing that Charlie had been fearful for his safety leading up to September 10th. But now, more people are claiming the narrative keeps changing again. According to online reactions, Erika now seems to be presenting herself less as the concerned wife, warning him to stay careful, and more like the strong, fearless protector who took charge during the chaos. And this shift in the story is exactly where things start getting seriously complicated. Reports are now spreading about a private dinner Erika allegedly organized on Charlie's final night, and the details connected to that meeting are making a lot of people uneasy. Sources connected to the discussion claim there was even a Zoom call set up with a rabbi located in Israel, who allegedly encouraged Charlie to rethink and step back from some of the public stances he had recently been defending so strongly.
Foremost, I just want to say he's so full of crap. The idea that Charlie had just gotten back from Korea and was like, oh, please help me, Josh Hammer, you're a complete idiot. Please help me learn how to speak to college students. Josh Hammer and a rabbi who lives in Israel. Like there was nobody else available. You know what time it must have been in Israel for him to organize this call? Why is he doing it with this rabbi? Was it Wojcicki, whatever his last name is? You're not going to just call like Dennis Prager, who you're apparently writing a Shabbat Shalom book with? It seems a little suspect. So you're actually clarifying for us something that's amazing. This is a stunning admission, okay? Because we know that when Charlie got off of this phone call, he texts that evening a text message to Dan Flood.
If those claims are true, they instantly raise major questions about what was really happening behind closed doors on the night before Charlie's assassination. That one detail alone has people looking at the entire situation differently, and three big questions keep getting repeated nonstop online. Why that night? Why that specific conversation? And why at that exact moment? The whole atmosphere around that private dinner already looks unusual to a lot of people. But when the timing gets connected to everything else that's been alleged, the situation starts looking even more suspicious in the eyes of critics. Some are now openly wondering whether that final evening felt less like an emotional goodbye and more like a tense strategy meeting with serious stakes attached to it. That's not a small accusation, and the attention around it keeps growing louder as more people hear the details and compare them against the different public versions of events that have already been shared. The more those timelines get stacked side by side, the more debate starts exploding across social media and public discussions. Another thing pulling major attention is the reported reaction from Charlie's mother, Catherine, after she allegedly learned what was being discussed privately during that time. According to multiple reports, her response was anything but calm or diplomatic.
Writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to be pro-Israel.
People close to the situation claim she did not quietly let the issue disappear after her first reaction either. And now, 5 months after Charlie's assassination, the spotlight surrounding the case still has not faded at all. The attention around this story is still locked in at an intense level, almost like people refuse to let the situation settle down or fade away. Erika has stayed completely visible through it all, jumping from interview to interview, showing up at major public events, and appearing in carefully staged photo moments that keep putting her right back in front of the cameras. Ever since Charlie passed, she has remained in the public eye non-stop, and critics have been pointing out that she never really stepped away from the spotlight for any noticeable period of private grieving. And with every new article, interview, or emotional statement tied back to her version of events, more people online are starting to call out what they believe is a clear pattern forming around the narrative. Discussions about her role in shaping the public story just keep getting louder. But one question keeps spreading across social media and refuses to go away. Where are Charlie's actual parents in all of this? That question is now everywhere online, and people keep bringing it up because his parents have barely been seen in the public coverage connected to their son's death or legacy. Erika has also said very little publicly about Charlie's parents directly. Instead, she has focused attention on her own mother, saying she filled a motherly role in Charlie's life. That specific comment sparked immediate backlash and intense reactions online. Many people watching closely felt like the focus was being shifted away from Charlie's real family and redirected toward an entirely different narrative altogether. Not everybody was willing to quietly accept that shift in attention without asking questions. According to a source said to be close to Charlie's mother, Catherine, his parents have been handling their grief the way many families do after losing someone suddenly and violently. They've reportedly stayed out of the spotlight, avoided the non-stop media noise, and kept themselves away from the chaos surrounding the public side of this story. A lot of people say that decision deserves respect, especially considering how intense and public everything has become.
Heard about these curses, and that news genuinely rattled Erika in particular. She knew Christian teaching on the subject. She loved Charlie, absolutely. And she was scared when she heard of the curses Jezebel had called up. So much so that she and Charlie contacted a friend, who I believe she said was a Catholic priest, but definitely a friend, and asked him to come over and pray with them over Charlie the night before he was murdered. She eventually worked it through, and so did Charlie.
But this is where the situation reportedly starts getting far more tense behind the scenes. The same source claims Catherine's concerns go way beyond frustration with media attention or online speculation. What is allegedly affecting her the most is the belief that Erika's account of Charlie's final days keeps shifting in important ways every time new details come out. And according to people said to be close to Catherine, these are not being viewed as tiny mistakes or harmless memory lapses caused by stress or grief. They claim the changes involve major details that could completely reshape how Charlie's final night is understood. That's reportedly what has created ongoing pain and frustration within parts of Charlie's family, especially as public conversations continue getting louder. Sources also claim Catherine believes her son was deeply unsettled near the end of his life. Not simply exhausted from work, overwhelmed by public pressure, or burned out from a non-stop schedule, but seriously shaken in a way that people close to him reportedly found concerning. According to those reports, she felt there was something much heavier weighing on him during that final period, beyond the normal stress tied to a high-profile public role. Then comes the detail that has people talking louder than anything else connected to this entire situation. An insider is now claiming that, during Charlie's final days, he had allegedly started questioning Erika herself. That is not some small rumor people can easily brush aside. It's a serious claim that completely changes how many people are now looking at those final hours, that last night, and the morning Charlie reportedly left without saying goodbye. The allegation alone has pushed online speculation into overdrive, with people re-examining every public statement and every timeline that has been shared so far. On top of everything already circulating online, the same source says Catherine is reportedly considering doing a formal interview with Candace Owens.
That's a lie. What we know happens thereafter is Charlie concludes this call with Josh and the rabbi, and then he sends off text messages to his security chief, Dan Flood, also to Andrew Colvett.
According to the claims, the purpose would be to explain her own understanding of Charlie's state of mind before everything unfolded, and to finally present a side of the story that many people feel has been missing from public coverage until now. If that interview actually happens, people believe the impact on the public narrative could be massive almost instantly. The same questions just keep getting repeated over and over because critics say they still are not getting clear answers. Why does the story appear to keep changing? Why are there now public contradictions surrounding whether Charlie was facing serious threats and increasing his security measures before September 10th? Every time Erika speaks publicly, critics online claim new details surface that do not fully match earlier interviews or previous statements. Because of that, some people now argue the overall timeline feels unstable and difficult to follow. The first major public version of events appeared during Erika's September 21st in-person interview with the New York Times, and many viewers say that interview was the moment the official timeline first started taking a more structured public shape. At the time, a lot of people accepted that version of events without really questioning the details or demanding further clarification. According to the public account, the night before Charlie traveled to Utah, he and Erika reportedly had dinner in the Phoenix area with a friend described as a faith leader. The stated reason for the gathering was to pray over Charlie's upcoming tour, which was expected to cover around 20 college campuses. The report also claimed both Erika and the faith leader appeared deeply concerned during that dinner. One detail especially caught people's attention fast. Erika allegedly urged Charlie to start wearing a bulletproof vest. That part immediately changed the tone of the story because it painted a picture of rising fear, serious anxiety, and a belief that possible danger could be ahead. To many people watching, it sounded far more intense than normal worries before public appearances. According to the same account, Charlie reportedly hesitated about taking extra security measures. After that, the faith leader allegedly suggested he think about speaking behind bulletproof glass during events instead. That recommendation only made the situation sound even more serious, almost like everyone at the table believed there was a credible threat hanging over the upcoming tour. That became the first major version of events the public heard. Organized, emotional, and seemingly consistent from start to finish. But as more interviews and public comments surfaced later, people started comparing timelines and statements more closely. Now critics are questioning whether the original story actually lines up with everything that was said afterward. And that is exactly where the scrutiny started getting much louder and far more intense. Erika's original version of events painted a picture where both she and the faith leader, later identified by Megyn Kelly as a Catholic priest, were supposedly extremely worried about Charlie's safety. According to her account, they were strongly encouraging him to take serious precautions in case someone tried to hurt him.
Totally out of context screenshot of Charlie Kirk being very upset that a Jewish donor was withholding his $2 million donation. And she used this as an attempt to say, oh, Josh Hammer's lying, that Charlie Kirk remained pro-Israel until his final moments.
Yeah.
But she's also holding aside that 2 hours after this screenshot, if you look at the timestamps, 2 hours after that, I and a few others were in a small Zoom chat, a small Zoom call with Charlie Kirk the night before he was killed that Charlie organized. Charlie organized this Zoom call for the express purpose of trying to make sure that he had all the best answers, the best messaging advice for how to speak about Jewish-Christian relations and the Israel question.
That kind of framing carries major weight because it puts the idea of immediate danger right at the center of that final dinner conversation. Then things became even more controversial on September 23rd, when Megyn Kelly added another layer to the story. She claimed Erika had allegedly been shaken by a Jezebel article that mentioned what was described as a curse connected to Charlie. And that was the moment many people online suddenly paused and started questioning everything much more aggressively. A lot of viewers began asking the same thing. Were people really supposed to believe that an online opinion article was what caused such a serious level of fear and security concern at that dinner? Charlie had spent years dealing with harsh media coverage, political attacks, criticism, controversies, and non-stop negative headlines. None of that was new to him, and according to critics, none of it had ever triggered this kind of urgent reaction before. So people started wondering why this one article from this one outlet at that exact moment would suddenly turn a private dinner into what sounded like a full-blown security crisis. To many observers, that explanation just did not fully add up. And once those doubts started spreading online, they moved fast and became a major talking point across discussions surrounding the case. Then came Erika's live interview with Megyn Kelly on November 22nd, and people immediately noticed that the tone of the story had changed in a major way. In this newer version of events, Erika reportedly said that neither she nor Charlie felt afraid at all on September 9th. That completely shifted the framing surrounding the final night. Instead of sounding tense or emotionally heavy, the evening was now described as calm, normal, and routine before a regular speaking event. According to this account, there was no panic, no serious security conversation, and no atmosphere of fear hanging over the dinner table. Everything was presented as business as usual. But when people placed that version next to the earlier story, the contrast became impossible to ignore. The previous account talked about concerns over bulletproof vests, suggestions about bulletproof glass, and a faith leader who was allegedly deeply worried about Charlie's safety. Side by side, the two narratives sounded dramatically different. One version came across like a serious high-alert discussion about possible danger and urgent protection measures. The other sounded like an ordinary evening before another standard public appearance. That difference is exactly why critics say they keep pushing for more detailed explanations and clearer timelines. To many people following the story closely, this does not look like a tiny inconsistency caused by stress or fading memory. They argue it changes the entire atmosphere and meaning of what that final night was supposedly like. And because of that, the public debate surrounding these conflicting accounts has only continued growing louder. And according to critics, the contradictions keep stacking up instead of slowing down. In the earlier New York Times interview, Erika openly claimed she was so concerned about Charlie's safety that she personally pushed him to wear a bulletproof vest. She also described him as feeling uneasy before the UVU event, saying his adrenal glands were just going off. She later added another very specific detail that grabbed people's attention fast. He got up and I could hear him eating something in the kitchen. That image stood out because it painted a picture of someone restless late at night, unable to fully relax or sleep. To many people following the story, it sounded like Charlie was deeply unsettled and carrying serious anxiety about what was ahead. But critics quickly pointed out that this description clashes hard with the later interview, where September 9th was described as calm, normal, and completely routine. Those two versions create very different pictures of the same evening. One sounds tense and emotionally charged, while the other sounds peaceful and ordinary. According to people questioning the timeline, that contradiction is where the public narrative starts visibly falling apart. Then Candace Owens reportedly introduced another claim that pushed the conversation into an even more explosive direction. According to what she shared publicly, the dinner on September 9th allegedly involved more than just a Catholic priest. Sources connected to her claims said there was also communication with a rabbi based in Israel during that evening. And according to Candace's version of events, that conversation allegedly was not simply calm advice or spiritual encouragement. She claimed tensions became heated, with serious pressure supposedly being applied behind the scenes. Critics discussing the allegations say it sounded less like gentle guidance and more like an intense attempt to influence Charlie's public stance on certain issues he had been speaking about openly. Candace also claimed that the conversation allegedly involved incentives being brought up in a way that sounded far more like negotiation than prayer or spiritual guidance. According to her public comments, the discussion reportedly became focused on influence, positioning, and pressure behind the scenes. She then added another major allegation, saying that on September 8th, Charlie had supposedly sent a message indicating he was stepping back from involvement with the Israel-related cause he had publicly supported. Critics say that would not be some small political adjustment or minor image change. That kind of move could have major consequences tied to donor relationships, political partnerships, and his standing within major organizations connected to his work. After Candace discussed those claims publicly, TPUSA-affiliated podcaster Josh Hammer responded and reportedly pushed back on part of the timeline. He claimed the message was actually sent on September 9th instead of September 8th. Josh also stated that after the exchange, Charlie allegedly joined a Zoom call where specific talking points were discussed and guidance was reportedly given. When people started putting all of those details together, the situation became even more intense online. Alleged messages about stepping back from a major political issue, claims of a heated Zoom call involving a rabbi located overseas, reports of pressure and possible incentives, conflicting timelines between public accounts, and ongoing questions about security preparations before the next day's appearance all combined into one massive controversy. Then came the reported text message that completely stunned many people following the story. According to claims circulating publicly, Charlie allegedly sent Dan Flood and Andrew Covey a message after that call saying, "They're going to kill me." If that message is authentic and verified, critics argue it could dramatically change how people interpret everything that happened afterward, because the fear would no longer sound connected to an article, rumors online, or ordinary anxiety before a public tour. According to critics discussing the situation online, that alleged message would point to something far more immediate and personal than general fear or political stress. They argue it suggests Charlie may have believed a real threat was coming from specific people he recognized and was worried about directly. That's why many people keep asking the same questions over and over. Why has there reportedly been so little public detail about the Zoom call itself? Why hasn't there been a full breakdown of the alleged texts where Charlie supposedly expressed fear for his life in such direct language? Those unanswered questions have become a huge focus of online debate. Instead, critics claim the public keeps getting different versions of events, partial explanations, and timelines that seem to create even more confusion every time new information surfaces. According to people questioning the story, certain details still do not fit together cleanly into one clear and consistent account. And rather than calming public speculation, every new claim seems to increase the pressure and tension surrounding the case. That pressure has only continued building, with no sign of slowing down. Rumors are now spreading heavily online that Candace Owens could potentially bring Charlie's mother, Catherine, onto her podcast for a direct public interview. Supporters of that idea believe it would finally allow Catherine to share her own understanding of Charlie's final days and respond personally to the versions of events that have circulated publicly without her voice being included. If that interview actually takes place, many people believe it could completely reshape the public conversation overnight. A large number of viewers say they are not looking for drama or sensational headlines. What they want, according to critics online, is consistency, transparency, and one stable explanation of what truly happened, backed up by details that can actually be verified instead of timelines that appear to shift from interview to interview. Right now, a lot of people feel like the timeline still does not fully hold together. The details keep shifting, different versions continue surfacing, and instead of clearing things up, the questions only seem to grow bigger. Critics say that when stories keep changing and visible inconsistencies start piling up, public trust naturally starts cracking under the pressure. And once that pressure builds, it usually does not just disappear quietly. It keeps growing louder, more focused, and more organized until something clear, genuine, and verifiable finally steps in to settle what speculation alone cannot answer. That's why so many people are watching closely to see whether Charlie's mother, Catherine, eventually decides to speak publicly herself. If that happens, many believe it could become the major turning point this entire story has been moving toward from the beginning. Until then, people will keep comparing interviews side by side, connecting timelines, analyzing statements, and searching for answers they feel still have not been fully explained. The debate surrounding this case clearly is not slowing down anytime soon. What do you think is really happening behind the scenes here? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone following the story so they can join the conversation too. Stay tuned for more updates and breakdowns coming soon.